Hello and welcome to the show. Today is a busy recording day, so expect some distraction and some noise bleeding in from the microphone here and there. So, today, the question we're going to look at is something that came in through LinkedIn, and it is what is your preferred method for cold outreach when initiating professional connections? Phone calls, emails, LinkedIn DMs. Those were the only options that were given, but I am assuming that these given here are not meant to be limited. Uh, I'm assuming that the options here are just typical of a wide range, or a wide variety. So I'm assuming that when the person says phone calls, I'm guessing the person also means like WhatsApp phone calls or Skype phone calls, but basically you're calling in audio. And when the person says emails, I'm assuming that they mean text communications, but of the asynchronous kind. The more formal types where you're sending a response now and you're not necessarily expecting a response now, and everything is formal and official. And then LinkedIn DMs, I'm assuming, are for text communications, text based communications, but of the synchronous kind. That's the kind where you guys are expecting a reply, fairly soon. So you send someone a message on LinkedIn today, 8 a.m. You're kind of expecting that the person should get back to you maybe 9, maybe 10, maybe 11, but you expect a response quite soon. The same with WhatsApp, synchronous form of communication. You're expecting a reply fairly soon. Same with SMS. Same with what's that other one? Instagram. Yeah, Instagram, DMs. Yep. So I'm assuming that the person isn't just limiting it to these three per se, but these three are supposed to be representative of a wider range of things. So what's the best way to initiate professional connections? Is that supposed to be voice, or emails, official text type, or the less official, the more personal type text-based communications like DMs and all that jazz. I noticed that the person for this question didn't put what's it called, face to face. So let's leave face to face out of the equation in tackling this question. Now, if you also notice the person said professional connections, let me repeat the question again. What is your preferred method for cold outreach when initiating professional connections? So, I was wondering, what is a professional connection? Does that have to be something work related, for people in the corporate space, or regular people, regular 9 to 5, or does that mean can that be expanded to networking, or does that mean business connections? Either way, it's fine. So I assume that whichever way we tackle this question, the answers that we're going to provide, the scenarios that we're going to explore, should be able to apply to, sorry, excuse me, professional connections, business connections, work related stuff, networking, promoting a business, trying to advance your career. Either way is fine. Either way is going to apply. So, what is cold outreach? Okay, first off, when we talk outreach, we're usually talking in a business context. So, this is the part of the question that's going to be limited exclusively to business. So, what is cold outreach? Now, when you say cold outreach, it is not tied to the medium. And when I say medium, I'm talking about the options that we explored here: phone calls, emails, LinkedIn DMs. There are some people that assume that if this is your primary way of drumming up business, you're hitting the phone, you're doing emails, or you're doing LinkedIn DMs, then what you're doing is cold outreach. But that's not necessarily the case, because you can, of course, make phone calls into a warm audience, send emails to someone that you're acquainted with, or send LinkedIn DMs to someone that you already have an existing business relationship with, or existing professional relationship with. So, sorry, excuse me. So, when you say cold outreach, it's not the medium. So, it's not about whether it's face to face, phone, WhatsApp, email, virtual reality, Facebook. What's the Facebook one? The something universe, the metaverse. So, it's not about that. So, when you say cold outreach, the emphasis on cold here, it's not relating to the tech, but it's relating to the level of familiarity that is between the person initiating the relationship, initiating the contact, initiating the agenda, and then the person on the other end. So, in other words, if I pick up my phone right now and I call you, dear caller, the person who is listening, oh, sorry, dear listener, the person who is listening to the show right now, if you and I are already friends, we know each other, we're cool, our kids go to the same school, we know our businesses, blah, 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 that kind of jazz. This is not cold outreach because we are familiar there's already a personal context, some professional context, some kind of context between I initiating the relationship or initiating the contact, and you on the other end, the person who is receiving, at the receiving end of the agenda, the context, the relationship, whatever it is. So, when we say cold, that is what we mean. That there is absolutely no familiarity, no prior knowledge, no prior contact, no prior relationship, no prior knowledge, no prior whatever between I, the person who is initiating, and you, the other person who is receiving. And that is why we say cold. If you find it hard to remember, just think back in the old days when we were back in secondary school. Those of us who are guys, you want to get a girlfriend. You guys have never had a conversation before. You've been seeing her, you've been noticing her, you're not sure if she notices you. So you just puff out your chest and you try your luck. That is totally cold because there's no prior connection. So that's cold outreach right there. Now, what is outreach? Okay, I gave the wrong example because, anyway, outreach, not interpersonal relationships. But outreach is rather looking for people to talk to who might be interested in your product or your service. And outreach is also taking the steps to initiate the conversation. So that is what outreach is. So if you slam those two words together, cold outreach now means you're looking for people to talk to who might be interested in your product or service. Then you try to initiate the conversation, but the people that you're reaching out to, they don't know you. You guys are not familiar. There's no prior relationship. There's no prior context between you two. Either way, you try and hit them up on the phone. You try and hit them up on emails. You try and hit them up on LinkedIn DMs. That is what the cold outreach is. So, is cold outreach the best that you can do in a business context? Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, it's that time of the year. The rains are here. The children coming down with sniffles. And of course, as usual, Dad is the one who is the giant magnet for microbes and stuff. So it starts with them, then I catch a cold, and then my wife is spared. I don't know why. Life can be unfair. So, cold outreach, is that the best that you can do? The answer is no. We should be trying to warm up our outreach. In other words, we should be trying to get a previous context. We should be trying to get some sort of familiarity with each other. This is why I talk about researching the prospect so that at least you are familiar with them. If you're familiar with them, it helps because if you're calling in totally cold, you don't know who you're talking to, it becomes painfully apparent. And after a while, the person just thinks, look, this guy's an idiot. They cut the phone, they pretend that he went dead. People who are brash might insult you. Either way, it's not a good use of your own time when you're calling in thoroughly cold. So, warm it up. Try and get familiar with the prospect, if nothing else. Research. Okay, we spoke about LinkedIn DMs. Go on LinkedIn, have a look at their profile, and it gives you a sense of what it is that they're into, what their possible challenges might be. Trust me, what their possible challenges might be before you call. So if you sell kiddie shoes, yes, let's say you sell kid shoes. If you sell kid shoes, then randomly DMing people on LinkedIn without knowing if they have children, probably not a good idea. Yeah, so that's just it. Let me just leave you with that example for now. So where was I? Yeah, so research the prospect, so at least there's some sort of familiarity. And then, of course, people also try to warm up outreach by doing some sort of advertising, some sort of brand building, so that other people are a little familiar when they hear from you in person. Back to the kiddie shoes thing. If you've been advertising all over, if you've been doing lots of stuff, putting out content on, okay, no, if you sell children's shoes, I am not sure if LinkedIn might be your thing. Okay, I should have used Instagram. Okay, so you've been putting out lots of activity on Instagram. You put out lots of daily posts. Let's see what else. You put out content, some content marketing. You do content about how to match shoes to accentuate your children's sense of style. You do some posts about how shoes might affect children's confidence or how they blend in with their peers. Let's see what else. Then maybe once a month you do advertising. No, not advertising. What's it called? Boosting. Yeah, I think it's post boosting. You boost your posts on Instagram, things like that. You've been doing that once a month, and you've been doing all this activity for the last 1 year. So now, if you've been doing that kind of activity, the chances are when you call in to say, oh, I'm from Okuchuku and Sons Shoes Limited, the chances are folks might have heard for you. So in this case, yes, it's called cold outreach still, but at least it has been warmed up quite a bit because you did some research on the person. You looked at their Instagram profile. You know that they have a couple of kids. You know that they spend lots of money on their children. So your 5,000 naira shoes. Okay, no, shoes are more than 5,000 naira now. Let me say 40k shoes. Let me say 40k. Yes, assuming that your shoes are expensive. So your 40,000 naira shoes might not be a problem. You've done some research on them. You've been putting out stuff, so chances are that they know you because you've been blowing up Instagram for the last 1 year. So in that case, this is not totally cold. So do your best and try and warm it up a bit because cold outreach actually is not the best. We all have to do it. We all have to talk to strangers. So try and warm it up the best way that you can. So, the tension that is simmering behind this question is what is the best tool to use for cold outreach? Now, that depends on the context. Remember, the person asked, what is your best? This, A, B, or C? It kind of assumes that there is a best, that A might be better than B, B might be better than C. And, okay, so let's explore that. So now the phone. The phone requires high skill. It really requires high skill, and it requires high confidence. Because if you have the skill but you don't have the confidence, you call and you fumble. Hello, my name is Chukudi. I'm calling from Okuchuki and Sons. We do footwear. We are the best. We provide shoes, Lagos, Abuja. We cover all of West Africa. We've been in this in 5 years. So all those airs and ums and everything, it's going to hamper how effective you are. Oh, okay. It's a good thing that I gave the warning at the top of the recording. So that's our first interruption coming in. That's the call for prayer. That's the noise at the background. I'm still in Abuja, don't worry. I haven't traveled. I'm not in Saudi Arabia. I just happen to be in that kind of neighborhood where they do call for prayers every morning and every evening. Okay, so back to where we were. So the phone requires high skill and requires a lot of confidence. And but the advantage is that it's easier to get to the point when you're on the phone, and it's easy to set the next engagement because you already have the person here engaging with you on the phone. So it's easy to move things along. Unfortunately, the phone can be expensive because it's call credits and then it's time intensive. Because if I call you up and we're going to talk business, most likely we're going to shoot this shit for anything between 3 minutes to maybe 10 minutes. So that's the phone. Email, on the other hand, is requires low skill, and because it requires low skill, lots of people just copy and paste, and that is what makes it highly ineffective because people are just copying and pasting and doing so in a very poor manner. Of course, if you increase your level of skill, copywriting, thought, strategy that goes into emailing, and you lessen the amount of copy and paste, and you do more, what's that thing called? More personalizing your messages instead of just copying and pasting to everybody. Your effectiveness of using email can go up. Now, email doesn't require a bunch of confidence because you're not being rejected face to face. So a lot of people default to email because nobody's rejecting you. And of course, when you're typing, you can't and fumble and forget stuff. So it doesn't impact your confidence. Then, of course, the advantage that email has is that it's very cheap. You can send one blast to a few dozen people at a time, or to 100 people, or to 1,000 people. So that's up to you. And then, of course, it's not time intensive because if it takes me 10 minutes to come up with that one email and I blast it to 100 people, it did not take me 120 minutes. It actually took me 10 minutes plus the time that it needs to copy and paste and then hit send. So bottom line, I could craft that thing in 10 minutes and then 10 minutes later I have sent it to 120 people. So 20 minutes to reach 120 people instead of the phone, which if you're going to do 120 people and you're going to be talking 3 minutes to maybe 10 minutes each person, see, that's a lot of time. Then, of course, another difficulty is difficult to manage conversations and set next clear steps because email is asynchronous. You send an email today, and well, at least in Nigeria anyway, you send an email today. It's not kind of expected that the person is going to get back to you today, especially business related stuff. If it's in the office, then yes, you send your colleague the memo at 8 a.m. You kind of expect that maybe by the close of working hour, they would have gotten back to you, especially if it's something that is urgent. But if it's a business context in Nigeria, you send the email now, you expect that the person is going to reply tomorrow, maybe 3 days. You never know. So it's difficult to manage a conversation that way because you say something now and then you guys go silent. Then 3 days as a response, then you guys go silent. And then 3 days again, and then you guys go silent. So that is a space of 1 week, and then you guys have only had 3 interactions. But if it was a phone call, on the other hand, it would be different. I would say, "What's up?" You say, "I'm cool, I'm alright." And then you say, "Hey, concerning that memo that I sent you last week, have you had a look at paragraphs 2 and 3?" Person can say, "Yeah, I had a look at it." And say, "Okay, what about paragraph 3? About paragraph 3, are we cool on that?" Person can say, "No, I don't like paragraph 3 because it raises this, that. And look, we can't do business unless we sort out this issue." See, that's a quick phone call, 3 to 10 minutes. You guys have already figured out what the issue is, and you can set the next steps at the phone call. Now, okay, no problem. I will have my guy look at it again, and we'll send it back to you on Thursday. Are you cool for that? I say, "Yeah, sure, no problem." "Okay, so we'll talk Thursday afternoon." "Yes, we'll talk Thursday afternoon. Bye bye." Regards to the wife, regards to the kids, up Manchester United, up Chelsea, up whatever, and then phone conversation ends. And then that's it. Phone call, set the next engagement real quick. Email, you can't do that. This whole process that I described now, which would be a 10-minute conversation, it can take you 2 weeks to set this up over email. Really frustrating, which is why I don't understand why people keep insisting on doing business from beginning all the way to the end through email. There was a bride that I met that way. She insisted on concluding the whole thing through email. Early on, I always tried to move people to the phone, but as I matured in the wedding business, I realized that look, just meet people where they are, and I just figured, hey, this baby's an email babe, so let me just keep it email. It took us 6 months to agree, but I didn't have a problem because 6 months we got the wedding. It was they're a really sophisticated couple and easy to work with. It was a classy wedding, and money was not bad, so I didn't mind. But still, 6 months just to iron up stuff. I mean, if we picked up the phone, we could have been done in 2 3 weeks reading. Anyway, that's my own personal grouse. So LinkedIn DMs, the same things apply as other text-based platforms regarding level of skill and how cheap it is, and stuff like that. WhatsApp is also text-based, but then it's considered much more personal, much more informal. So and then it's less asynchronous, so you can expect that people will get back to you in a timely fashion. So these are some of the things that are involved regarding confidence, skill sets, effectiveness, and things like that. If you notice, I didn't give you an actual answer because the answer to the question, is there an actual best? The answer is no, because you have to apply one of them, or sometimes you have to apply all of them, depending on the context. When it comes to sales and when it comes to business, it is all contextual. So remember when I was talking about my email bride, I met her in person, we vibed quite well, but after the wedding, things returned back to the way they are. We only stay in touch through email. She's not going to pick up her phone. She will not respond to a DM. She will not respond to a text message. She will not respond to a WhatsApp. But if you send her an email now at 9 a.m., you'll get a response by noon. So that's just the way it is. So we're back to our email relationship. So it depends on the context. So let's say you sell eggs, you sell poultry, or you sell poultry byproducts, like you sell chicken poop for manure, or you sell chicken eggshells for animal feed, let's see what else, stuff like that. Some of you might ask, why do I keep going on about eggs and chicken poop and stuff like that? Well, that's because I have an auntie who is in the business. I have a cousin who makes a comfortable living doing this business in Lagos. I also know someone who used to supply to factories, sorry, not factories, who used to supply to other businesses who buy byproducts in Lagos. So it is a viable way of producing income that people do in Nigeria, but it's not glamorous, it's not classy, and so because of that, it's not the kind of thing that the average Nigerian knows. So I keep going back to this example time and time again because, well, it's a business that lots of Nigerians are involved in. So, if you're into eggs, poultry, you sell pig crap for manure, chicken eggshells for feed supplies, chicken poop, chicken feathers for um, chicken feathers for people that make what's that thing called? Not stationery. What's that thing called? Those things like chairs and pillows and those sorts of things. So, if you're in that kind of business, then walking into the factory or walking into the abattoir or walking into the slaughterhouse or walking into the food production facility without knowing anybody and asking to speak to the production manager, that might be very effective. That might work in that kind of business. But if you're a lawyer, on the other hand, you're selling legal services, or you're an architect, you're selling design services, walking into the factory and asking to speak to the manager, that might be ineffective. It might even shift the balance of power between you and the potential customer. It makes you look cheap, it makes you look hungry. So you can see, it depends. In one situation, outreach, face to face, walking in totally cold might be a good way to drum up business. In another way, it might not. If you're on insurance or financial planning services, then if you make a phone call to reach the secretary and then try and fix an appointment, hoping that if you're to fix the appointment, then you can show up face to face, while at the same time you send a LinkedIn DM to the person that you're trying to meet, to the Oga or to the Madam, and then maybe also trying to hit them up, see if you can find their email. This is a multi-pronged approach that might work. You might get through with the secretary, but be ignored on the DMs and the emails. The secretary might say, let me get back to you, and never call you back. But then the person that you want to talk to might respond to your LinkedIn DMs. So you never know. There is no best. And that is my overall answer, not just to this question, but to these kinds of questions. People, stop looking for what is best. There is no best. When it comes to business and it comes to sales, we have to exercise creativity and judgment in the moment, depending on the context. That is what you should be trying to figure out. What is going to be the most effective in this context? There is no best. So stop listening to all these people who say phone calls, that's the way to go. Well, I am one of those people who say phone calls, that's the way to go. But, that's the reason why I don't keep pressing. Because even though I think phone calls are the best and the most swiftest, because, if you're an absolute ninja on the phone, it can help. I do recognize that there are times when the phone call is going to harm you, like, like with my email bride. If I have pushed the phone with my email bride, she would keep ignoring me. So I stuck to emails, which is her thing. So it depends on the context, depends on your product or service, depends on who it is you're targeting, what kind of relationship you're trying to build. So it really depends. There is no best. Well, I still think phone calls are the best, kind of. Anyway, but there is no best. So just pay attention to the context and try and work with what is going to be most effective. If emails are going to be the most effective, even if you're a phone call person like I am, stick to the emails. If LinkedIn DMs are going to be most effective, but you think business, because there's some people who think, look, if we're doing business, it has to be done by email. There's a problem that I have with dealing with these people in international NGOs. I mean, they have a strong email culture. One of my hang-ups of dealing with people with the British Council in the past was the email culture, like everything has to be done by email. Because I prefer that before I send you the invoice and we do the back and forth, I prefer I just pick up the phone, let's have a quick conversation, I know exactly what the specs are, then I send you the invoice. But they'll rather do everything through emails, all that back and forth and blah, 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 and all whatnot. So, if you're one of those people that you think everything must be done by emails, but for some reason, this person, the people that you're trying to reach out to, they seem to be LinkedIn types and DM people, or Instagram types and DMing you, or direct messages on Twitter, or messages on WhatsApp. I mean, just go with the flow. Be effective. It's not about being right, being correct. It's about being effective. So exercise creativity, exercise judgment. And that's all for today. Remember, subscribe for free. Sales for the Nigerian Business Person podcast. You can subscribe on Spotify, Google, Apple iTunes, Pocket Casts, Anchor, or Overcast, any podcast player of your choice. Also, remember to connect with me on LinkedIn. The name is Tavishima Ayede. Yes, Tavishima rhymes with Hiroshima. You're not sure what the spelling is? Just take one step, skip one step back, hit the return button to the what should I call it, profile page on your podcast player, and you'll see it there right next to the picture. You see the spelling of my name. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll see you guys at the next episode. And if I remember correctly, I think we should be looking at skills that people need to be successful in business. But we're not going to be talking general. We're going to be talking sales related skills. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll see you guys in the next recording.